Serving Tampa Bay since 1954. The Heritage Station. WTMP, Egypt Lake, Tampa, Clearwater, 97.5 in Pinellas.
Alrighty. And we're smiling. And the hurricane is gone. And a whole bunch of...
Is that what that was? The trash can was tipped over.
Yeah. I mean, I will never complain about us not getting full force winds of a hurricane. Because I'm going to tell you something. Being lucky by stuff like that, that's like, being somewhere where they had a shootout and you didn't get shot. I'm just saying, if damage was done, it wasn't none done to you. So I'm glad, like somebody said, I'm glad I didn't catch one of them bullets that was out there. I'm glad I didn't get caught by one of them bullets that's out there. But I'm telling you folks that now I'm gonna do this again. I did this last week. Some of y'all missed it. Before this show is over with, a lot of you guys gonna be mad at me. Remember I said that. Cause again, you don't want to hear the truth. You want to hear some of that other stuff, and this ain't the place. So for 1 hour a day, you're gonna get some truth. It ain't about you liking it, because it ain't truth that you have to agree with. As I've said before, I am not trying to make you happy. I'm trying to give you information, and it's about the community as a whole, not any individual. Because I'm not picking on anybody. Because, when I start talking about what happened with my dad and what happened with my brother, what happened with my sister, those are my people, And I'm just saying that, a lot of you guys are no different. Y'all take it for granted, like that thing I'm saying about marijuana. A lot of y'all got mad. Okay, let me tell you. And the guy who called to argue with me last week. And I ain't even started the show yet. Okay. My dad was 83 years old. Maybe he didn't want to quit smoking blunts. That was his choice. That was his choice. Now, it ain't his fault. Like y'all want to put faults on. The drug marijuana is habit forming and addictive. Okay, I'm saying that start the show. So I'm starting where I left off last week. For all y'all who don't like me saying that, I am sorry. Tough crap. You got hooked. You see what I'm saying? I remember back in the olden days when they first brought out cool cigarettes. You know what they did? They brought them to the hood and they gave everybody on the street corner. And I'm from Lake Wales, Florida, which is a teeny town. They didn't only just do it in Lake Wales. They did it in Oakland, in California. Did it in New York. They did it in Miami. So I'm saying, if I got cool cigarettes on the street corner in Lake Wales, Florida, guess what? That was part of their marketing campaign. And it's a whole bunch of black folks smoke cool for a long time. You know why? Because it's addictive. It's habit forming. All right? I guess I should start the show.
Now we're going to be nice.
But I had to get that off my chest. There's a lot of good stuff happening. So, welcome to Porch Talk Radio on this fine Saturday, dry, not too windy.
You can tell.
A lot of stuff going on. A lot of black stuff going on. And for those, again, one more thing before I get started. I'm having a hard time starting this show. Sha'Carri Richardson. That young lady said she knew what the consequences were. I didn't put them words in her mouth. I heard several interviews, and for those who got mad at me, that's your problem. That ain't mine. You see what I'm saying? Because I ain't told her to say nothing. I ain't told her to smoke. But at the end of the day, people was hoping and wishing and Okay, hope she get to be in the relay. She get to do this. She get to do that. She could have did it all. What athlete in America don't know they getting drug tested? I'm just saying. They know that at high school. They know that at junior high. I ran track. No, a lot of folks don't know that. I led her in track. I ran several events in track. I even went with a guy who did the decathlon. I was his personal coach. So I'm just telling, this ain't new stuff. And I am 68 years old. So if they did that way back when I was running and playing in high school, and I graduated high school in 1971, for those who try to do the math.
Oh boy.
That's a long time ago.
Stagecoach.
So if they were doing that stuff back then, and the drugs haven't changed that much, but the testing has got a hell of a lot more sophisticated since way back then. So anyway, this is Porch Talk Radio, your favorite afternoon talk show on Saturday.
Favorite.
On WTMP. It's a talk show, so if you want to call in, the call-in number here is 813-251-9867. 251-9867. If you want to call me, which I got several calls, that's how I know you guys was upset from last week.
Mm-hmm.
My personal cell phone number, 813-12. So if you want to text me, that's how you do it. I'm not a big hockey fan, but when it's the local team, I went last year. I went to a couple of games, even though they had the pandemic. You know folks who know folks. They had a couple of games this year. I actually saw a couple of them on TV. Watched a couple quarters. Tuned in just in time to see some scoring. And the Bucks, I'm going to say it right now, the pressure's on. Even though, the pressure was on anyway, to repeat and do all that kind of stuff. But the fact that the Lightning got their second championship in a row, now we got Tom Brady.
Mm-hmm.
If it's anybody nowadays can win 2 Super Bowls in a row, it's Tom Brady. And I was sitting in a room this morning with a young man from Kansas City, and I told him, we weren't gonna hold that against him. They only scored 9 points against the Bucks. But again, the Bucks were hot. We won 8 in a row, and they just happened to be, in the way. I'm just saying they stood in the way of that cup. That they were throwing around on those boat parades when the Bucks had their boat parade last year. A lot of you guys remember all the pictures of Tom Brady. Now, I got to say, someone found out, and it became a fact, somebody said, well, the Stanley Cup is 35 pounds. It's different than the Lombardi Trophy, which is about 8 or 9 pounds, 10 pounds max. You could kind of throw that. It's a little heavier than a football, but ain't nobody going to be throwing the Stanley Cup around like they were throwing that Lombardi Trophy around. So, anyway, congratulations, Tampa sports, football, hockey, baseball. I mean, we pretty much kicking butt in everything we're playing, So, anyway, got that off of mine. Spelling bee. Yes, the International Spelling Bee, for the first time in history. I haven't heard enough for the shows today, so I don't know if anybody mentioned it or not. And somebody may have mentioned it, But a young 14-year-old black girl from Louisiana won the International Spelling Bee. In the past, I've heard a lot of folks making a big deal of who the champion was, because I think an Indian girl won last year, and but the first time it was a black girl. So if they don't make noise, I am making noise.
That's awesome, Eddie.
I am making noise. Make sure folks know that a black girl won, a young black female won the International Spelling Bee competition this year, and she did it this week. So
she is about 15, teenager.
14.
14.
Yes.
Thank God she doesn't watch news.
And
wow, she succeeded.
And
that
she
is
likes
awesome.
basketball too.
Yes.
Some other
stay away from
things
TV.
that she got going on.
That's awesome.
So anyway, all right. I got a guest today. Usually, we get in here and we get situated, and I get on my rant, and by the time I get through ranting, half the show's gone. But you guys are used to that, And like last week, I had somebody call to argue with me about the addiction, the fact that marijuana was addicted, habit forming, all that stuff. And I know some of you guys don't want to hear that, but our community, when it comes to stuff like that, is weak. When they introduced crack cocaine to America, they did the same thing them folks did with cool cigarettes. That's why I mentioned the cool cigarettes. When they introduced crack cocaine, said we got something that's cheap, addictive, and it's hard to get rid of, hard to beat the habit. They came right to the hood. They passed the Italian, they passed the white folks, they passed the Catholic, the Jews. They got Chinatowns, they got Little Italy's, they got all the different places all over America. Crack cocaine came straight to the hood, all over America, just like cool cigarette, same time. Next thing you know, everybody had crack cocaine habits and were crackheads. It didn't become a problem until the little white girls and little white boys in Carrollwood got addicted. And for those who don't know what I'm talking about, South Tampa. Areas where they don't have a lot of black folks, but they still got cocaine habits. And then folks you start knowing start dying. Movie stars, athletes, all kind of folks who could actually afford. I saw where somebody said, I don't have to do crack cocaine because I can afford heroin.
That's a highfalutin one.
I'm just saying it's expensive too. Same results. You take enough of it, it's gonna kill you. So anyway, I didn't mean to lose track of the fact that we got a guest here. And many of you know our guest, have seen her, have heard her, and me and her were having. And I say, and you see a lot of you guys who know me personally, and I say, well, hell, you want to come talk about it on the radio show? I say, yeah. All right. So, without further ado, some of you know her, some of you don't, but I'll let her tell you who she is and what she's doing, and then we can have a conversation. Miss Selena Ward. Welcome to Porch Talk Radio.
Well, thank you. Hello, Eddie. Hello, Gabriel. Well, first of all, what a way to start the show. You went through about 5 topics before you even
Boom.
first 5 minutes.
That's a warm-up, girl.
Yeah, I know. Way to go.
I had to get it off my chest. Gotta get it off my chest,
So I'm not the only one that you have conversations with, I see, and talk about what's going on in the world. But, right now, that's what I'm doing. I'm keeping up with the community. I'm still volunteering. And most importantly, I'm raising my children, and which got us to the conversation that we're going to talk about today about.
Yep.
I'll let you tell everybody what we're going to talk about. But yeah, it's something big on my mind, and I think a lot of people out there are thinking about this topic. So I'm excited to see what the callers have to say when we get to talking about what's going on with me and what's on my mind.
Well, let me say this because I keep forgetting to do it. The price of gas is $3.09 a gallon. Regular.
Eddie, but it's a good swap. We don't have any more mean tweets here going on.
I like when people keep telling me on my Facebook page, the president don't control the price of gas.
Oh, the hell
My problem with that is, the last time I looked, it was $1.76 a gallon when mean Donald Trump left office. Now it's $3.09 and trending up.
It's going to have to because it keeps shutting down
up.
resources.
We back again to what people say and what people believe.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe for 2 seconds that the president don't have nothing to do with the price of gas. Because somehow the last president, y'all don't like him, I know. I may have had a lot of problems, but buying gas wasn't one of them.
Mm-hmm. That's for sure.
You know what I'm talking about? It's a song that go out, 99, but so-and-so ain't one of them. Yeah. Well, guess what? I had a lot of problems, but buying gas wasn't one of them. Didn't have no shortage. Didn't have no hackers hacked the system. You know, a whole bunch of that stuff. All right. Well, I could play some of these things for you, but every day, pretty much, sometimes twice a day, I get these calls. I don't have a mortgage. I actually paid off my student debt. I actually don't owe the IRS any money. But for some reason or another, my name is on the list so that everybody keeps calling. If you want your student debt paid, if you want your mortgage paid, if you want relief from COVID, if you want another bailout, I mean, literally, you know, they say, well, this is my name and my number, and this is the agency you call, and this is how we're going to do it.
They got money, Eddie.
But the problem is, when they call me, I don't know how my name got on the list, because if I hadn't paid off my damn house, I'd be, yeah, great. Yeah, who do I call, what, how to. But the house is paid off. When I went back to see, when they told me that I made a deal, they said, well, you got a student loan. Guess what? You can't go back to college until you pay every dime back.
They don't do that anymore.
Yeah, they stop.
I'm just saying, you know, this was a few years ago, you know, because I went back in 85. I got my first degree in 76.
I was born
So when I got ready to go back, they said, well, you got a student loan. You got to pay it off before you go back to school.
Mm-hmm.
And since I was working at Temple Journal at the time, I said, okay, well, I'll pay it off. Went back to school, got my architecture degree. And when I graduated, walked up the stage, it was mine. Bought and paid for. Didn't owe a cent on it.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
So I was good. I learned the first time. You know, because it took a long time for me to settle and say, okay, I guess I should pay for my first degree, you know, because they ain't going to let me get the second one. So I guess, you know, I need to go through these changes. And several years ago, and I'm talking to everybody now, several years ago, you know, I got a 30-year mortgage on my house when I first bought my house. But I bought my house from a mortgage broker. So that means every couple of years, they work the books, they go through, find a lower rate, you know, the interest go down. Because when I first bought my house, my interest rate was 9.75.
Jimmy Carter time, wasn't it?
That was in 1991.
Yeah, okay.
9.75.
The end of Reagan, I think.
But it kept, you know, every couple of years. It's a 30-year mortgage every couple of years. Well, we got a lower rate, take it down to 8.75, 7.75, 6.31, you know, 2, whatever. You know, I think by the time, you know, I'm gonna tell you what I did. It got down to like 2 or 3 point something. And I said, well, why don't I do something different? I went to a 15-year mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
I still had, you know, 20 years to pay on it. You know, I say, but for give or take $30, $40 a month more, I can go from paying a 30-year mortgage to a 15-year mortgage. And them years went by quickly at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Next thing I know, it's paid for. So anyway, the point is, I keep getting all these phone calls of folks trying to help me. So they ain't just trying to help people. Because if they were, then a lot of you guys who need this more than me will be getting these phone calls.
Right.
But you're not.
We're not. And I just read something the other day that said 62% of African Americans with college degrees, and that's just the bachelor's, have student loans. And then 45% of them, out of that 62%, if they get a graduate degree, they get additional student loans. So also students who attend HBCUs have the highest amount of student loans out of anyone who's getting student loans. So African Americans have student loans tremendously. I went to college, and I'm not ashamed to say it, on a student loan. No one has called me yet, so when they call you, feel free to give them my phone number. I would love to hear what they're talking about. But I know a lot of people are wanting to know, what kind of relief is there out there? And, the student loans, not only did we get student loans, I can be a testimony for myself. I don't mind saying what I did. And I'm not the only one. I'm not ashamed, because what I believe is when you make a mistake, you make sure your children or people don't make the same mistake.
Right.
And I did that. Let me do a shout out. Let me go ahead and do a shout out. My oldest got a full ride, no student loans for her. So that's one thing you have to make sure. You have to make sure that these children are, academically, athletically prepared, so they don't have to even deal with Sally Mae, Fannie Mae, or whichever Mae it is right now.
Yeah.
But so what I did when I got a student loan, they also had this dangerous thing, Eddie. You had to pay your student loans back. They let us get something called a refund.
Huh?
Yeah. So when I was in school, you could take out additional money to quote unquote live off of. Yeah, I may have went to a classic or two off that refund money, but you get a refund. You can get a refund, and so what you find, a lot of people who are ages 35 to 49, 50, we fell in that refund category. I don't think they do that now. I think they really watch that now. I think they have tightened up on those type of lending policies. But it was so easy to get this money to go to school and to also get this extra money to live off of.
Yep.
And now we're all stuck with this debt. Great jobs, great careers, but student loan debt that's costing us more than maybe if we had worked part-time and paid our debt off or did something like you did, Eddie. I mean, that's something that if I could redo it all over again, I would have never met Sally Mae.
Well, see, that's the thing that's so funny, because when I was in school, they had something called co-op.
Oh, yeah.
So technically, that came part of your financial aid. So I was obligated to work at the health department. I knew what I wanted to go into. So I worked 20 hours a week as a student at the downtown health department, 20 hours a week. And it don't sound like much, and it wasn't a big deal. But at the end of the day, when my check came every semester, see, because back when I was in school, we were actually on quarters. So I misspoke saying semesters because they on semesters now, but when I was on quarter. So that means every 3 months, you got to pick a whole nother bunch. Let me say something else. When I was in college the first time, for $180, you could take as many classes as you could take.
$180.
That's what it was.
And it's about $12,000 now, and that's in state. And that's
in-state.
That's in state. Yeah, the average cost to go to college now is easily $40,000 a year.
Yeah.
If you stay on campus. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And no refund.
No refund.
The reason I gave those numbers because it's two realities. So when I graduated in 1995 with a BS in microbiology, my student debt was about $40,000. Now let me say something else. I had some help at some time. The first stereo I ever had, I bought it with my loan money.
Refund.
But it wasn't called a refund back then, because what they did was they didn't have Pell Grants back then.
Oh, wow.
They gave you X amount of money, and then they actually made sure you could pay your housing, room and board, because I stayed in the dorms. Never ate on a meal plan. I ate many of Vienna sausage.
Little baby.
I cooked on the iron. My iron was my stove. They didn't let us have, portables, in the room.
No cooking devices.
No heating, cooking devices. So you iron. So you turned it over.
Foil.
I'm just saying, it worked. It worked for many years.
Don't try this at home.
Yeah. Many of folks made it through that, and the expenses were great relative to the time. That's what I'm saying. Nowadays I hear people say, "Oh, $100,000 back then you could have went to med school."
Yeah.
It's very expensive right now, and I think the thing that we have to do is, as the listeners out there, as you're thinking about your children and thinking about them going to college, you have to start planning for this now.
Yes.
And that's something that people aren't doing. Saving extra money. I mean, that extra money, starting to save it now for if you have a kindergartner and they want to go to college. I mean, there's all kind of plans out there. I mean, I don't
Florida
care
prepaid.
I don't care if you're doing Florida prepaid or if you're putting it in a jar.
Right.
I mean, that you need to start saving money, because so many expenses that these kids will have, from their books to the fees. to their spending money. And you talked about meals, Eddie. The
yeah.
meal plans are, ridiculous.
Yeah.
A lot of times the kids don't even, want that. They still want to go to Chipotle. So,
And
I
here,
just
guys,
gave a shout out.
I've got the other side of the coin, and back to Eddie's initial conversation about the young lady that just won the spelling bee, nice
Right.
black lady, young girl. I actually have a mentor that's been working with me on one of my projects, and this mentor has been at it for about 5 years now, 4 or 5 years in the computer business, the internet business, and has made a few $100,000 and has guided people around the world on how to follow his steps, basically, on making money with these internet stores. And, and the individual asked me the other day, I'm thinking I'm going to college. I've got some projects I'm running that I've learned to do on my own, and I've got about 80,000 set up for one of my projects over here, but then I've got 3 other projects I'm trying to launch as well. I'm debating if I should go to college. He's 20.
Wow.
I'm asking him, why? Go to the internet, go to a website, print out a document.
$80,000.
I went to college. I have a master's degree. Print it out, stick it on your wall. $29.99. At that, and some kids are just smart.
Right. Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I mean, and I didn't even bother going through all the list of dropouts that make them millionaires, billionaires nowadays.
Bill Gates.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm like, so if your kid is smart and they want to play a musical instrument, they got skills, they got talent.
Yeah.
Oh my Lord!
No,
you go hawk whatever you got to hawk to get them those piano lessons or whatever, because that just could be the next one right there.
No, I think
Ready
that's
to
a great
go.
point. That's a great point.
Woo.
Don't go just to go.
And that's where I think the education system today is kind of deprogramming people. And all of us have survived to this point in our lives, all of us in this room, to say, education's good. It's good to have education. It opens doors. Nobody can argue that. But then we got some people, and I know Eddie's met a few, I've met a few, that they've got skills, maybe not the sharpest cookie in the shed, in the
You
tool
don't have to
shed.
be.
But you know what? They can plumb.
Right.
They can do electrical work. They can do welding. And they'll make a ton of money compared to the people who got all these college.
I remember when I was coming up, you know what they used to say? You needed a high school diploma to wash dishes. That was a big deal. You couldn't even wash dishes unless you had a high school, diploma.
Or the military.
And then they found out you can't wash dishes if you ain't got a college degree. So the dishwashing skill set kept going up. You need a PhD to wash dishes.
Gabriel, you just said something though. I want to talk about. You said or the military. So the military is always an or. As many of you know that
I was there.
I served as well. And it's not an or. I mean, there are a lot of smart people in the military. There's a lot of great professions that you learn from being in the military.
That's true.
So what people don't realize is you
And
go to
they can pay
basic
for college.
and they can pay for college.
Whoa.
You go to basic training, but then you go to this thing called AIT, which is when
Very
you
good background.
learn your skill set.
Wow.
So you could go and you could learn a skill set through the military as well. So that's a form of education because these guys that are on these military bases, they're just not out there freehanding this. They are actually trained and skilled laborers, workers.
Absolutely. I've been there.
Professionals. Exactly. So you get it. So that's something too that I tell people. Don't look at it as an alternative. Oh, I can't go to college, so now I have to go to the military. That's something in our family that we rank up there. The same. Being in the military is a great profession, as well as somewhere where you're constantly learning, and you can always add more value to your education, and you can do it like you just said.
And like Eddie to be here now saying, what, I don't have any student debt. I got rid of it early, and I finished with my next degree without any debt.
That's awesome.
Again, Eddie looked outside the box and said, how can I get this done? I'm going to get this done. And just like my 20-year-old is mentoring me, he's gotten amazing things done and asking, gee, do I really need a college education? Bill Gates didn't.
It's funny you say, we talk about what Eddie did. People ask me all the time that now that I have this daughter that's about to go to school and she doesn't have to worry about paying for it, how did you do that, Selena? Well, one thing is you apply to different colleges, and the first thing I told my daughter was, "You're going to who gives you the most money. I don't care who you
There
like
you
in
go.
football. We're going to who gives the most money." So
There you
that's the one thing. Don't just set on your favorite football team or the campus that is just the
Right.
best, or where your cousin went. Make sure that you have options,
Right.
because there's schools out there that'll recruit you, that'll want you.
I think you guys are going deeper here, and you're not quite.
Well, we
Folks,
got-
what
we
is that? What's almost called?
we got a call
What
on
does
that.
that piece of paper on the wall mean? What does it mean from? And you guys that have all that piece of papers. My question to you is, do you know that open up several more doors or any doors? Or my question is, like this 20-year-old has been mentoring me. If you just have an opportunity to put a standard out there and you go for it, it's the individual, Eddie, that can make it happen.
Well, if he got $80,000, he don't need college.
Well, yeah, it also depends on what he wants to do. I
Right.
think that, it depends on the individual and what you want to do. Because if someone wants to be a doctor, they have to go to college.
Yeah.
But if they're an entrepreneur, or if they're doing something
Right.
like he's doing, then maybe that's not what they need to do, just to be going.
That would
And
waste some time.
that's a
But
waste
that's
of time.
anti-education now.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Let's
All right,
do
we
the
got
call things.
we got a call. Caller, welcome to Porch Talk Radio on this fine Saturday afternoon. Who are you? Where you calling from? And what say you? Hello. Hello.
Yeah, hi. My name's Ed. I'm from Tampa area. I'm actually a financial advisor, 6-year Marine Corps vet.
Thank you.
Very little college education. Thank you. Let me tell you guys a couple things. Number one, you are absolutely nuts if you think there's any real tangible relief coming from the government in form of tuition relief.
It came from Biden. The call said it was Biden. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
But it can't. Listen, no. It has to do with why there's not going to be, and I don't care what party. There's approximately $1.73 billion or $1 trillion worth of educational, tuition, finance, student loans, whatever you want to call it, that is backed by the U.S. government at about 6.5% on average. That generates $112 billion of revenue for the U.S. government every year. You think they have any interest in helping you get rid of that? No, that's revenue. So that's just a tax. And if you think it's going away because some people are going to stomp their feet, it ain't. I don't know the makeup of this thing. I've heard you guys show a couple times. I'm socially a little bit more liberal, but I'm more fiscally conservative. I will tell you this, if you pay off your mortgage early, you shouldn't do that, because that's a low interest tax deductible loan. You should keep that, because that's probably the biggest tax deduction you're ever going to have in your life. But the fact of the matter is, you guys got to look at economics. Don't do math when it comes to student loans. Look at the economics and the policy. And as far as gas being higher, remember that fossil fuels, which are very opposed by this administration, oil as a fossil fuel, that's part of the reason. And in Trump's defense, he got the benefit of low gas prices because of lower demand from the coronavirus, and Biden is having to pick up a little bit of that. Now, flip side of that, Biden didn't pick up, but they've also shut down a bunch of the pipelines,
Right.
and potential building of pipelines, which is going to significantly impact oil, which is not just gas, it's plastics and everything. Food's through the roof, everything. And they're saying that this is a temporary inflation until supply chains even out. I read this stuff every day. They ain't happening, Jack. When this is done and the costs do come down, what's the incentive for them to lower taxes?
None.
Yeah.
And
I don't think it's going to go down to 170 anything in the near future.
No.
Yeah. So sorry, I didn't mean to go on a rant, but
Appreciate you calling, buddy.
No, man, I'm enjoying listening to your guys' show. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm a, let's say, white guy, relatively conservative, but I like listening to other viewpoints and different things like that. And never vote for the individual, vote for the policy, vote for the policy, vote for the policy. Because at the end of the day, if you make any money, rich people can usually get rich by being dumb. And poor people want to be rich, but they need to change what they're doing. They're thinking that you want to help out your next generation. Go buy life insurance. So when you die, you've got something to leave your kids. Because generational wealth, that's what's going to change the world. It doesn't matter which community it is. And stop looking at black community versus white community and this and that. Look at the economics. Because when you look at economics, you follow the money, you find the real trail in life.
There
It's not
Thank
about the money, it's always about the money.
Thank you very much. We appreciate
All right,
it.
buddy, appreciate it.
Next
Yeah,
caller.
get some
Caller.
good points.
Welcome to Porch Talk Radio on this fine Saturday afternoon. Who are you? Where you calling from? And what say you? Hello.
My name's Chad. I'm from Palm Harbor. And, yeah, I agree with that last caller very much. You follow the money. It's all about the money. But the reason why I'm calling is because I want to talk about the college plan thing. So I have my daughter. She's 5. And I plan on raising her with, I don't ever want her to think that college is just paid for and that I'm just going to, work my butt off my whole life to pay for some crazy college bill. So I'm going to encourage her that she's going to have to go the route of scholarship, or she's going to have to do something to work really hard if she really, really wants it. But at the same time, I'm going to have a college fund that I'm paying into, and I plan on, and so that if she does, strive for her dreams, she's got to work really hard. But I am willing to help her. I just don't want her to grow up thinking that it's already all done for her.
Yes.
That's good. I like that.
But thank you. And one thing I tell a lot of young black men when I'm having conversation, because I do some mentoring, save $1,000 a year. Don't put it in the bank.
Mm-hmm.
Don't put it in the jar under the bed. Buy some kind of equity fund that who are not going to let you get that money till you're 59 and a half.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're in your 20s, by the time you get to be 50 something, you got, $40,000-$50,000. That's your money waiting for you to do what you need when you're going to actually need it. And that don't include Social Security, pensions, and all this other stuff. That is an equity fund that you set up for yourself, and it's your money that has been growing for 30, 40 years.
Absolutely. I'm actually personally not a fan of the idea of college. I'm a small business owner. I do tree trimming. I own a lawn care company. And I've always been driven on the mindset of working for myself. So I graduated back in 2006 from Dunedin High. And in your junior year, they passed out all the pamphlets with all the degrees and colleges and whatever, like the last week of junior high. You're supposed to get all that in order before your senior year, I guess.
Yeah.
But I remember the teacher passing out the pamphlet, had to list all the degrees. And she said that medical and computers are the two that you can guarantee go in. You're going to have a job. It's never going to stop. That's the trend of the way the world's going. And she talked about all these other degrees that are flooded, talked about the employment rates getting out. And then after she was done talking, I watched, because I didn't even open the pamphlet. I never planned on going to college. I watched all my classmates talk about all the degrees, one year out the other. I'm doing basket weaving. I'm doing this. I'm doing freaking philosophy studies. And now they're all waiting tables with a nice $50,000 student loan.
Woo!
So I guess college is not bad, but my recommendation is know what who's hiring when you get out. Don't just have this expected, I get a degree and I'm just gonna be set. You still gotta work for it.
That's true.
Right.
That's right.
But thank you for the call.
Appreciate it, buddy.
Appreciate it. Now,
I just gotta say that your opening jam is off the hook, man. I rock out to that hardcore.
thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, now I'm going to do something that may be. Okay, we got another caller, but I'm going to say this before I take the next caller. All right. See, normally when we're talking about mess, I'm going to say this. Normally we're talking about mess, where all kind of black folks calling, arguing, cussing, fussing, raising hell. We're talking about money, getting ahead, economics, financing and stuff. And so far we ain't had one black call. I'm just saying. So I'm calling. I'm throwing it out there because y'all know me. So anyway, next caller. Caller, welcome to Porch Talk Radio.
Hello?
Yes.
You hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. So, I'm a black caller.
Good. There you go. I'm glad. You see that one call? That one
It's a sign.
Yes, sir.
So, couple of things though, Eddie. First, it's unfortunate that we talk education now strictly about jobs. Okay? Education is about enlightenment.
Yes.
Okay? It's about teaching you a way to think. It's about exposing you to things you were probably not And so if you get a degree and you don't get this great job making a lot of money, then people sit there and say it was a failure. That's not true. And usually a lot of times the people that say that are the people that wish they could have gotten it and don't. And many times it's reflected in their conversation. So I will say this, education is important. I can tell you that most of the positions I've had, if not all, had it not been for me having a degree, having the background that I do, I would not have been able to get those jobs because the opportunities were not there, which is why I went back and finished and got it. Okay? Now, I was very, very fortunate in that when I finished college, my wife and I both, we didn't have any debt. We were very fortunate in that regard, so we didn't have to come out paying back college debt. But, to hear people, malign college or say, hey, it's not worth it, to me it depends on what you're going to get an education for. It is certainly, from the standpoint of knowledge, enhanced who I am versus me not having it. I was one of those people that perhaps thought I didn't necessarily need it in order to get ahead, but I can certainly appreciate it. With regards to the military, Ms. Ward is right. Back when I was growing up, people used to look at the military as the alternative. Well, if you can't get into college, so they'll go to the military. Well, I don't think people understand now. The military is much more competitive than it used to be. You don't just decide, well, I can't go to college and I didn't do that well in high school, I'm just going to go to the military. No, the military has become much more sophisticated. You still have to have ability from the standpoint of education to go into the military as well. There's exams you have to take, and I'm sure you guys know about all of that stuff. So I think people need to look at what education was designed for. There was a reason why education originally, especially college, advanced education was for the enlightened class. Okay? Why? Because it kept them knowing things that the average people didn't know, which kept them, it was the aristocratic class. And that's how they kept other people below them. Yes. So, this whole note, you just need to know, you can go out and do any kind of thing you want to and make money if all you want to do is make money and make a living. But if you want to enlighten yourself, then you can educate yourself in many ways, reading books, taking courses. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to get a college degree. But educating yourself, to me, is still important. And for black people, for African Americans, the primary way you move from one socioeconomic group for us has been through education. Okay, that may not apply across the board to all other groups, but as far as African Americans, that's the way we move from one socioeconomic group to the other. Thank you.
Thank you for calling. We appreciate it.
And he's right about that. Now, he is right about, education is important for African Americans. However, Time Magazine wrote an article about African Americans with college degrees being in more debt than their grandparents without.
Oh, sure.
So we have to be careful that we get the education, but get it fiscally responsible. We have to be fiscally responsible when we get the education. We can't make the mistake of going to college, taking student loans, taking additional student loans, having all this student debt, and then we get this great job, but we're in so much debt that we're still in more debt than our grandparents that didn't have a college education. And we have to be honest. We have a lot of people who went to college in the 90s. I can only speak on that era because that's the era that I'm from, that are in student debt. The student loan situation made us go backward, Eddie.
Yeah.
We didn't do what you did. And we have to be honest about that. We have to make sure that our children don't make those same mistakes. So I'm not against education. I'm not saying don't go to school. I'm not against student loans, but I'm saying borrow that money smart. If you have to do it, let that be your last resort, and make sure you realize you have to pay that money back.
Yep.
And make sure that you're going to school with a job that's going to allow you some money to pay that money back. Now, college, I was enlightened, and I learned a lot.
But
however, if I was just going to be enlightened, that's a lot of money to be paying for to be enlightened. I'm just saying. But he had some great points, though. He had some great points.
Okay, let me say something. Because I want to make sure folks understand. I went to school, I got a degree, and I worked at Temple General Hospital for 20 years. Because it wasn't that I didn't have a good job. I had a great job. Made good money for a long time. Had job security. But what happened was, I thought I wanted to work for myself.
Mm-hmm.
I got tired of someone else depending on whether or not I eat and sleep and what condition happens in between. That's just me.
Mm-hmm.
I grew to the point where I say, okay, I can stay here for another 20 years,
Mm-hmm.
or I can go set up my own business, but I gotta get additional marketable skills.
Mm-hmm.
So while I was at Tampa General, I say, well, I work for an institution that's got education as part of the deferred payment plan, in which if I'm working for a degree, they'll help me pay for it.
Wow, smart.
So what I'm saying is, you know, that's why I said earlier, when I walked across the stage and got my master's in architecture degree, guess what? It was mine, bought and paid for.
You owned it.
It was mine.
It didn't own you.
And you did that 20 years later, Eddie.
Mm-hmm.
That's also something too. It's never too late.
No.
You don't have to rush and do it.
Nope.
You could work and then get in some type of job that allows for repayment or help paying
Mhm.
or your education, and do the same thing you did. There's so many ways to be educated, and you can do it smart.
And the thing, it's a lot of folks, like I say, sometimes, and I hate to say this, but when they marketing this stuff, because somebody's calling you every day, 2 or 3 days, you know, 2 or 3 times a day, I got this, I got this, I got this. Now, I'm going to tell you something. Think about that. Think about that scenario, and think about when they want to send you a stimulus check. It came in the mail, you opened it, and you spent it. Now you got to do all this other stuff, and
Mhm.
phone calls and applications and this and this. You're paying for somebody else's job is to call you and tell you and get you to sign up for this and sign up for that and do this and jump through all these hoops. That's a process. And somebody's getting paid every step of the way. Nobody's doing any of that stuff for free.
And it ain't nothing free. I've got an aunt right now. She's getting a $75 a month bill on a credit card. She said she didn't sign up for, but she remembers receiving a check in the mail. Said, "Join us. Here's some money." It was like $100.
Yep.
Here's $100 for just joining our card.
There you go.
Oh, $100. I could take $100. We put that thing in the bank and started getting charged $75 a month
That's
for
right.
the last 6 months. Going, wait a minute. I didn't sign up for a credit card. That was a monthly fee. $75 a month on this credit card because she got that $100 check for free.
And spent it.
The check was free, $100.
Yeah.
Free.
Yeah.
Woo, we gotta figure that out with
But
it.
see, that's the thing. That's the thing. You know, and that's what I'm trying to make, you know, my people aware of. You know, it's a lot of stuff. What you got to do is get into the weeds. You know, we don't want to get into the weeds. Get into the damn weeds. You know, because that's where the information is. That's how you can feel out what it is you're actually committing to. See, because we commit to a lot of stuff because it appears to be easy. When I said about the stimulus check, if somebody want to give you some money, they're going to send you a check. You get it, you spend it, you good. When you got to go through a whole bunch of changes to make all this other stuff happening, there's more stuff happening than you're aware of. And they are banking on the fact that you're not going to read the fine print.
Yeah.
You're not going to get into the weeds because you don't want to get into the weeds. You just want it to be good and easy.
So Eddie, so let's just say what we were saying on the phone. So I called Eddie and I asked, "Is somebody gonna pay my student loans off?" And Eddie said no. And I think that's the question. I think a lot of people have been, you know, trying to figure out how, you know, what's going on with these student loan repayments. And it's funny, you know, so what I did is I stopped saying, okay, well, you know, I'm just going to make sure this doesn't happen again in my household. And I think that's something that we all should be looking at.
Break the cycle.
Breaking the cycle of
Yep.
the student loans and that debt. Because, you know, they're calling Eddie, but they're not calling me. They're probably not calling you either. So,
Well, this politician that just got in office, he said he's going to get rid of those, right?
tell me where to go.
Yeah, no, they didn't really mean it. But he was going to get rid of student loan debt. They won't forgive.
That one of Biden's things too, right? Wasn't it?
Yeah, that was going to forgive it. Oh, but now that he's in there, he's got the power. Oh, I didn't really mean that. I didn't mean it this time. I meant someday. Woo-wee.
Well, we're just going to make sure we break the cycle.
Good for you. That's awesome.
That's the biggest thing that I want to make
That's
sure
smart.
that I
That's
break
very
the
good.
cycle. Break the cycle of student loan debt.
All right. So let me go to on this day. because we're getting toward the end of the program, and if I get the ramping and raging and going on, we'll mess around and miss it, and then I be getting calls,
do the mess around,
saying you didn't do on this day, because a lot of people actually like that.
Yes.
See there, see I didn't,
Okay.
On this day, July 10th, 1821. Remember that date, 1821. U.S. troops took possession of Florida. The territory was sold by Spain, so we became we became part of the U.S. territories in 1821.
It's been a heck of a sand trap since then.
Yeah. On this day, July 10th, 1890, Wyoming became the 44th state to join the United States.
There's only 2 people still there. Yeah, the one that signed the paperwork and the one that delivered it.
And the Indian. See what everybody keep forgetting, that all these places had people in them when they got there. They just didn't count them.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's what I'm saying. Look in the weeds. They had a whole bunch of Indians in Wyoming when they got there. Anyway, on this day, July 10th, 1913, the highest temperature ever recorded in the United States was 134 degrees
Arizona?
Fahrenheit in Death Valley, California.
Ooh.
Wow. That's hot.
It was 134 degrees. I'm gonna tell you, boy. you could have cooked an egg in that. Just threw it out on a rock.
Right.
With no grease. On this day, July 10th, 1943, Arthur Ashe, the first African American inducted into the International Tennis Hall of Fame. He was born 1943. He had 33 career titles. On this date, July 10th, 1984, Dwight Doc Gooden, a local boy from Tampa,
boy,
of the New York Mets, became the youngest player to appear in an All-Star game as a pitcher.
Boy, had skills.
He was 19 years, 7 months, and 24 days.
Wow.
And I went to his wedding.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, when he got married out here at the Seminole Hotel, where the casino is now. There used to be a hotel there.
Oh.
There was a Sheraton Hotel, and Dwight got married, and I went to his wedding.
Oh my goodness.
And he came with all them folks from New York, and he little country boy, so of course it was a lot of folks there. That was a nice event. Had lots of good food.
How long ago was that, Eddie?
Yeah, a long time ago. A long time ago. That was back in the 70s. Because the young lady came from New York, so I think he brought her back. So, Gabriel.
All right. Fear. False evidence appearing real. As I'm going to butcher this up, Dan Bongino recently just ran this article talking about how CRT is just a fear-based thing. And it's understood that the campaign of fear with the current administration is running strong with door-to-door coming, find out if you got the vaccine. If you didn't, what are they going to do? They haven't quite told us that part yet. But for most of you out there listening, I'm sure for you to have like the Jehovah's Witness come to your door saying, "Sir, have you accepted Dr. Fauci as your Lord and Savior?" Probably is more fitting. But right now, law schools are bowing down to CRT. Duke just recently did it, and they're removing conflicting information. So in other words, whatever they're going to run with in a debate, if they get too much conflict on it, they have to stop the conflict, and they're not going to allow any opposing views to what they're saying is the reality they're creating. For example, they were having a transgender debate, people talking about transgender, and that was shut down because suddenly they were afraid to bring fear upon the transgender people. Now, when a law school begins to remove opposing views, now we're going to have future judges that are going to be out there deciding our lives,
Mhm.
saying, no, I don't agree with that, so we're not going to hear that. And that's it. And that's done. So understanding that knowledge, facts basically, is a construct to power
Yep.
that CRT cannot handle. Because on his own merits, CRT cannot stand. If you bring knowledge to the table, CRT will crumble. But number two, there's two things. One is the knowledge. But number two with CRT is they need a permanent class of victims. Hello, black people of America.
There you go.
A permanent victim group that are just victims, except for this wonderful young lady's daughter here that just got a full ride to a scholarship to school, or Mrs. Spelling Bee, another black. See, they didn't listen to CRT, or else they wouldn't have made it. Because of their skin color, they would have been a loser and a failure, and that would have been embedded in them. And the school system is beginning to teach that now through the NEA, the Teachers Association Union, saying that they are now all hooked arm in arm against the will of the parents to teach hate to our kids. So again, knowledge is a construct of power, and CRT needs a permanent victim group that is oppressed. If that's true, let's call them out. If somebody's oppressed, let's call it. Oh, you don't know of anybody. You can't think of any. You can't call out a name right now in your life. Oh, so Marxism is having a blast with this thing, guys. So we're going to get a little bit happier now. Chicago. The mayor said last year she would not have the military sent in because that was tyranny. Just a week ago, she was begging Biden, please send in the military. So people have died a lot.
A week. Every week, 20, 30 folks.
And it's going to be 98% black people.
Yeah.
So the blood is running thick. But Democrats own that. She's been in power for a while now. And she says the real problem is racism. That's why she's with a white woman. Anyway, moving along. Joe Biden has another brain freeze. He attempts to take credit for the Osama bin Laden raid that he opposed. Meanwhile, Pelosi's husband made a lot of money off of Amazon call options the week before the Pentagon announced that they had a contract with Amazon. Isn't that weird when politicians make millions of dollars? Chicago schools now
That's
are
actually illegal.
Politicians doing it when they have the behind the story?
Yeah.
Oh, crooks.
Yeah.
In Chicago now to make condoms and birth control available for fifth graders. Hey, how about that? When they're in between their guns. Rona forever. Pfizer is seeking approval for the third corona vaccine dose. They're going to try and do it like a weekly allergy shot for everybody.
Supposed to be a booster.
Yeah, meanwhile, a lot of school boards are being recalled because they are fighting the fight with CRT, and the parents are finally standing up, saying the school board is has forgotten that the parents are the employers, and the parents are finally grabbing their minds and going, "Wait a minute, CRT is teaching our young kids to hate, and if they're a certain skin color, they're going to be losers all the way." But don't worry about that. California schools are now going to require for all fall classes, despite CDC guidance, to wear masks. Even the teachers that have been vaccinated have the vaccine, and the students. All about control, folks. All about control.
And this is the note that we're going to leave everybody on. And I was having a conversation with our engineer, when we came in. The issue becomes, and young black males, there is actually a genocide going on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because, and I know it's getting close to time
Big,
to go.
big, Eddie.
But
Big.
young black males are killing young black males.
Yeah.
Cops and everybody else is killing young black males. And then there's a certain amount of young black males that don't want to be young black males. They want to be young black females. So at the end of the day, the whole community is going through this whole thing where we got a generation or two where even if everything was perfect, we got enough, and I forgot prisons. So that's something else that came up. We got a lot of young black males in prison. So anyway, at the end of the day, there is a genocide going on, and it's up to us, folks in the community, to wake up and point it out, because maybe some of those young black males who could do something different are not, because everybody's afraid to talk to them. So I'm telling you, wake up, talk to these folks, because the whole community, the whole race can't advance without young black males being fertile. Thank you. Until next week, same bat time,
Eddie, you
same
blew it
bat
up.
station. This is Porch Talk Radio. See you then.
God
Love
bless
you.
America.
Bye.
Bye-bye.